wish we'd met sooner. It's an honor for me to introduce you today to our audience, so that they can get to know you, and that they don't even know what's going to hit them today, because having met you, and how their life will change from now on. And that you've made your life all about supporting people through separation and divorce, and helping them heal in such, well, there's many aspects of the separation and divorce journey that you help people through with Naked Divorce, but the healing journey is what we are focusing on today. And that you went from being a change management expert into a divorce and trauma specialist. You're the #1 divorce coach in the UK. You've created the Hello Emotional Freedom program from the ashes of your divorce, mostly born out of the frustrations that there was no structured approach for you to heal and to grow from the pain of your divorce, and to learn how to embrace your life and your future relationships. And all I can say is congratulations. Not only has the divorce course, the program, become the world's #1, but it's also been completed by over 6,200 people in 97 countries. Yeah? Yep. Okay, good. I got that right, because I only had 30 countries before, and suddenly it was 97. I was like, okay, that sounds good. From around the world, and the results are astounding, with a 92.3% success rate. Since completing the course, you know that I've been a bit eager to get this out to my audience, and so that they can experience the same healing and transformation post-divorce as well. Before we talk about the program, I'd really like my audience to get to know you, and to learn from you, and to get some real life actionable exercises and things that they can kickstart their journey with. So we'll talk about the program at the end of this 3-part series, and I can't wait to do that. So the videos, this is going to be a mini series masterclass. There's three videos that will be coming people's way in the next couple of days. The first is this video, which is going to cover giving people a starting point, a place to ground themselves. The second video is going to provide people with some awesome tools and techniques that they can put into practice today to get some real life healing results. And the third video is going to be about helping people create a really clear goal, so that they can look at what their life is going to be like on the other side of healing from divorce, and have something to move towards. So let's dive in. And then we go on to today's video. So the aim of today's video is to help people start laying a really solid foundation for starting their healing journey, whether they be in the early days of separation, or going through a divorce, or if the divorce happened 5 years ago. If they're not completely over it, I don't know where I was going there with that, but anyway, so the aim of the video is to do that, but they're not completely over it. I think that was just a full stop. So something I hear a lot from people who are going through separation and divorce, and I can certainly relate to this from my own experience, is that they feel really stuck in a mindset of fear and blame and hurt, and in a place where they really didn't think that they'd be at this stage of their life. So in particular, the physical feelings that are associated with this overwhelming level of despair and heartache is absolutely awful. So Adele, what would be one simple, did that beep through really loudly? No, I just had let me just turn off, I don't know how to turn messages off. Anyway, sorry, we'll just have to stop and go. Okay, sorry, start that again. What would be one simple first step, or something that people could do to focus on right now and prepare themselves, ground themselves, and set themselves up for success when it comes to healing? So this is going to be
I think the very first thing that people should do is really have a sense of understanding and compassion for the trauma that is divorce. It is a very, very particular kind of trauma, and it's actually what we class as a type 2 trauma. So it's not as severe as, you know, being in a really heavy car accident, or being tortured, or, being attacked with a knife and that kind of stuff. It's, your life is not necessarily at risk, but it feels like your life as you know it has ended. And it's not just a normal kind of trauma, it's what we call a shame-based trauma. And shame-based trauma basically means that this is an area of life you thought you were supposed to be successful at and you weren't. We're supposed to get relationships right. We're supposed to be married until we're old and crusty, until the day we die. And then when this area of life doesn't work out, there's a lot of shame and confusion and stigma associated with that. And understanding that this is a very extreme experience that you're going through is very important, because when you're down and you're having a horrible experience, kicking yourself while you're down, being hard on yourself about how you're doing whilst you're going through this terrible thing is not particularly compassionate. So I think self-compassion is an incredibly important starting position for a shame-based trauma like divorce. If you are feeling down on yourself, hard on yourself, you're not liking where you are, be compassionate with yourself about that. Kind of be in a position where you think, okay, I'm doing the best I can. It's okay that I'm not over this yet. It's okay that I'm struggling with this. It's okay that I feel isolated. It's okay that I feel everything that I'm feeling, because when we're traumatized, we're not ourselves. We are not actually able to feel and have a good grounding of what we should be doing when we don't have a roadmap for it. So self-compassion is your first step. I think the second next part that comes to that is to understand that there is a route through trauma. There's stages of the journey that you have to go through. So you get yourself onto a program like the Emotional Freedom Program, where you basically can move through those steps in a good way. Then you can control the timeline of how long this is going to take for you to be in this traumatic space, rather than it being this endless thing where time is supposed to heal the wound and we don't know how long that's going to take. It's good for you to actually have a journey that you can go through step by step with your hand held, signposted through what you're going to be going through to actually heal.
Okay, awesome. And as a first point of reference for people, I remember talking about the trauma diet, for example, was a way that I was really able to ground myself and ready myself for even considering healing, because I felt so physically sick through the process. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do anything. So can you talk us a little bit through a little bit about the trauma diet and how that could be set up for people in this process?
So when you are going through something traumatic, first things first is the way that your body processes the trauma. A traumatic response will travel up your vagus nerve, which is the nerve that connects your spine to your pelvis. It then triggers the amygdala, which is the alarm system of the brain, and that goes haywire, dumps out all the adrenaline, noradrenaline in your body. You then, palpitating, freaking out, you feel sick to your stomach when that is happening. That then elevates the stress within your body. That's your cortisol levels that have risen. So nutrition is a vital aspect to get under control of your hormones and the neurotransmitters that are wreaking havoc within your body. So when you are highly stressed and the cortisol levels within your body are high, the adrenaline is high, you're at risk of adrenal fatigue. You're at risk of inflammation and inflammatory type diseases. That's why often we see people that go through traumas like divorce, they end up developing secondary health issues. They end up developing Hashimoto's thyroiditis. They end up developing lupus and all kinds of inflammatory type conditions, because the inflammation has gone out of control, and they end up with a secondary kind of issue. So diet, nutrition, critical, not just from a short-term perspective and making you think straight and kind of calming everything down so that you can begin the journey of actually soothing the emotional roller coaster that you're on, so that you can process what has happened. it's also really important from a long-term perspective, because that stress that you have over a long time is really going to mess up your system. So the trauma diet is one way that we have designed Hello Emotional Freedom, is because Hello Emotional Freedom is a holistic program. We actually tackle your whole life in that program. You've got diet, we've got how to deal with emotions, what to do at work, you've got checklists, you've got everything. We look at, you know, your entire life and give you a total program for how to manage every single stage of the journey. So nutrition is a critical component. We look specifically at things that you can add and things that you must subtract to get through this initial stage in the best way possible, so that you don't have any secondary health issues that come out of this. And you also will find, when you get your nutrition under control, you can think better. You'll actually be able to process what is happening in a better way.
So I'd love for you to give a couple of examples of the things that people should add more of to their diet, and also some of the things that you can take out. But more importantly, have you got any tips for people that feel so physically sick they just don't want to eat? Like they've realized they've skipped breakfast, lunch, they're not wanting anything for dinner, and it's starting to go downhill from there. So can you talk us through a few tips on how to overcome that feeling of just I'm not going to eat and losing your appetite?
Well, the thing is actually when you have lost your appetite completely, you're starting to have the early stages of what people actually experience with anorexia nervosa. So it kind of is a cycle. Like the more you don't eat, that not eating mechanism actually triggers the retch mechanism. You actually start feeling physically ill within your body. That then causes you to not want to eat. You then don't eat, you feel more physically ill, and it's a vicious cycle that just perpetuates and continues. So one of the reasons you're feeling that physical sick feeling is due to the surge of adrenaline and noradrenaline in particular within your system. And also because your dopamine levels have shot up because your cortisol levels have shot up. So the stabbing feeling in your chest, the nausea, it is all part of that trauma. So critical thing that you must do when that happens is you do actually need to get a bit of nutrition into your system. And you've got to kind of get it down. Okay. So start with something kind of light, like a broth, a bone broth, a chicken soup, you know, something that doesn't have a lot in it, but it's something warming that is just going to settle the stomach a bit. The other thing that is good is if you've got Bovril or Vegemite or some kind of meaty extract that you mix in hot water, that also settles the stomach a little bit. If there's also any kind of non-acidic fruit that you can have, like apple, but I wouldn't have the skin of apple, I would grate the apple instead. That can also help settle the stomach. So it's almost the same stuff that you would eat when you have been vomiting for days and they go, all right, well, have a piece of white toast with some Vegemite or Bovril on it. That's really where you need to begin. A cup of black tea with a little bit of sugar when you just want to start getting going again. Avoid all dairy at that point, because the kind of dairy, the milk, that kind of products will completely aggravate your system and just make it worse.
Okay. And what's
so that's
sorry?
I was just going to say that's really like when you've been ill. But in terms of when you're kicking into the actual trauma diet itself, we have developed and are continuing to kind of complete the 28-day full trauma diet. So it's literally meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner of everything that people can have. And really what it is, it's an anti-inflammatory diet. So you want to avoid things like sugar. So you only have a little bit of sugar when you've not had any nutrition within your system for ages, and you literally just starting to kind of eat again. That's the only time. Genuinely, when you want to harmonize and equalize out all the hormonal and neurotransmitter fluctuations that you've had, sugar is a bad thing in that instance. So You want to avoid things with sugar. You want to increase your healthy fats at that point. So that's where I would put back in maybe a full fat Greek yogurt, some almonds, maybe some Brazil nuts, macadamia nuts, avocados, because that full fat, again, it just equalizes everything that's within the system. Remove the kind of carbohydrates that have a high glycemic load within them, because again, if the sugar levels, they have the biggest surge in your adrenaline levels as well. So when you're on an adrenally fatigued kind of place, which is usually what happens when you're going through trauma, sugar is your worst nightmare. So is alcohol. Okay, so that's why our Naked Divorces programs and Hello Emotional Freedom and all the programs that we run, no alcohol, because we really want to kind of calm everything down. You also want to avoid too much caffeine, because again, your heart is already racing, you are already experiencing palpitations. Anything that increases the stimulatory effect, not good for you.
And obviously like things like alcohol and coffee have quite a profound impact on your sleep, not allowing you to dip into those really deep levels of sleep. So what tips would you give people for their sleep, which is usually quite broken and difficult in the early stages, but sometimes for quite a while after, while they're trying to process what's going on in their new life? So could you touch on the sleep component for a moment?
No problem. So with sleep, when you are very, very stressed, you leak at magnesium. So you need to increase the amount of magnesium that you're taking. So a good calcium magnesium kind of combo supplement is a really good idea. I think your bedtime routine is critical to help. It's not just lie in bed, okay, now just get to sleep. It's actually all the things you do leading up to bedtime. It's kind of your 6 hours leading up to bedtime. It's what you're eating, what you're doing. All those things are part of the routine to have a good sleep. First things first, magnesium. Second thing, you could even up your magnesium by putting a cup of magnesium, like Epsom salts, within your bath water and having a really relaxing bath before you go to sleep. Next thing is making sure that all bright blue lights and bright lights, that you remove those from your bedtime routine about an hour and a half before you go to bed. So instead of watching lots of TV and scrolling, your Facebook and your social media accounts.
Facebook, yes.
Exactly. Rather than doing any of that stuff, instead, like, try and read a book or read a magazine or something positive, read some positive motivational kind of things, or write in your journal. That's why we have so many things in our daily checklist, to occupy people in productive activity that ultimately leads to sleep. The other stuff you can do, within our shopping list of the program, we talk about calming herbal teas. So chamomile tea is very, very helpful as well. But I think the nutrition is critical. One of the things we really recommend people put into their diet is greens. So when you are pH acidic, you're just having lots of alcohol, lots of sugar. It increases the acidity levels within your body. That will be problematic when you're trying to sleep. What brings down acidity are things that kind of neutralize acid. So apples actually neutralize acid. Lemons, who knew? They're actually neutralizing of acid. So you can have more lemons, you can have more apples, you can have more green vegetables. So broccoli, kale, spinach. Try to add some greens into every meal that you're having. It brings down the acidity level, moves you more into that pH neutral space. The fats will really help. The removal of junk food as well. You'll find that after a few days of just increasing those bits and increasing your consumption of water, flushes out the system, everything just seems a little bit slower, a little bit more calm. That's what we're looking for. And those prep things will really help with sleep.
Yeah. Awesome. So the other two big things for coping with stress, from what I remember, is breathing. Obviously, exhaling is also a way of releasing toxins out of your body. So Firstly, do you have any breathing techniques you can share with people? And secondly, hydrating yourself through stressful times is also super important. So can you touch on both of those things for us before we finish up?
Yeah, so breathing is really, really critical. So if you imagine, you've got all this stress cruising around in your body, what a lot of us incorrectly think is that stress originates in the brain. It actually doesn't. It originates within the pelvis. So the way that a stress response actually occurs within your body, as per the polyvagal theory, is that you experiencing some external trauma, your pelvis will totally tense up. That's everything within your tummy, your psoas muscle, your butt cheeks, your pelvic floor, like this. The message shoots up to the vagus nerve, triggers the amygdala goes crazy, adrenaline, blah, 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 and then cortisol shuts down the hippocampus, and this is the cycle. So what you need to do to kind of calm the cycle down is belly breathing. Okay, so belly breathing, where your tummy actually pooches out when you're breathing. So you want to get a really deep breath in until your tummy's pooching out. So all you kind of yoga people that are like holding in your stomach all the time, this is not going to help you get over a trauma or a divorce. This is the time to pooch the tummy out. So one way that we do that is you imagine that your whole pelvis is a frying pan, and you are pouring pancake batter in the pan, and all of the muscles within your pelvis are like relaxing in the way that the pancake batter spreads across the pan. It's just that you're releasing all those muscles there until your stomach is actually pooched out. That is one way that you can kind of get into that diaphragmatic breathing. The next way is you can do what they do in the US military. You can stare at a point on the wall. So you find a point that you can kind of focus on. And as you're staring on it, you just soften your peripheral vision. So you can do that at any point while you're cooking, while you're chatting to people. You just stare at a point, soften your peripheral vision. Your tummy will automatically pooch out. You've kicked into diaphragmatic breathing. The other thing that we recommend within the program is alternate nostril breathing. So that's where you hold one nostril, you breathe in through the other nostril and out. So, and you just alternate like that 9 or 10 times. By the time you've done that, you will have kicked into belly breathing. So those are important things to kind of, ultimately you need to relax your pelvis so that you can return yourself to a place of calm. Hydration is also vital, as you said, Annie. You probably need to be consuming at least 2.8 to 3 liters of water a day when you're going through an emotional trauma. And you want to focus the liquids on water rather than on, coffees and, sodas and that kind of stuff. It's really, you are leaking water when you're stressed through tears, through emotional turmoil, that kind of stuff. So I think drinking a lot of water at various stages during the day, that hydration will also help you with your sleep. It will help you with your electrolyte levels. It will help you kind of just process a lot of the stress that you're experiencing, as well as the diet.
Oh, there's so many things I'd like to talk to you about under this sort of topic. I wanted to touch on the immune system because I know that people's immune systems take a big hit. And I think particularly for women who have been through childbirth, probably haven't replaced their iron, which is a massive component to immune systems. It's a really tough time, and it's another massive hit on their immune system. So I know that the last question was like, let's do this before we wrap up, but the immune system, and just lastly on exercise, and quickly a couple of things that people could be doing now in terms of their exercise to try and quieten their mind or, make their day a little easier.
So immune system, I mean, pretty much following the trauma diet is going to really support your immune system, because it's a diet that is really focused and controlled on people that go through very trying emotional times. It's also an anti-inflammatory diet. You really can't go wrong with the kind of protocols and things that we recommend there. I think having some extra supplementation is really key. So within the program, we recommend supplements that people take to kind of boost their immune system. Because when you go through something stressful, you are really stretching the capacity of what your body can bear at that time. So you need more sleep, you need more recovery time, you need more space to actually come back to yourself as you're doing things. So supplementation is a great way to kind of focus on that. And we have various supplements that we recommend that people take during the course of the programs. There's a full kind of list of everything. But as I've said before, the magnesium, the calcium is really critical. We also have some critical tissue salts that we recommend. So that list is within the program. But separately, I think just kind of back to your, your point about all these bits, it all ties together. It's all these things that people can do. And it's not one thing that you can do that's going to help you get over this. It's actually the combination of everything. It's a holistic program, and you need to follow all of the steps. And it's like with most things in life, when you do everything that needs to happen in one go, that's when you will actually get better. It's not just doing one thing that's going to make the difference.
Okay, to wrap up, a couple of quick exercises or ways people can move their body to make things a little easier for them at this time.
Yeah, so I think from an exercise perspective, you don't want to overcook it. When you have high levels of cortisol and adrenaline running through your body, you're already running a little bit on empty. So this is not the time to kind of pound the pavement and try and train for the marathon. It depends on how stressed you are. If you already are a runner or a big exerciser, you might find that it's actually good for you to continue, but you might also find you're really struggling to maintain that same pace. Listen to your body. If your body is like, I'm struggling to kind of maintain the space, it's actually, I'm struggling to sleep, I'm so exhausted. That's your body telling you the pace is too hectic and you need to slow down. So with high cortisol levels, they actually recommend that walking is better for you than with pounding the pavements, running. Cycling is also good. Cross training is good, but mild. We want mild, gentle exercises. Yoga is good as well. And I think there's, the Salutation series is quite a good series to do. You can just Google that, and it's kind of on YouTube. You can get the Salutation series. That's a good one to kind of help you with sleeping. But I think gentle movements kind of really help, getting yourself into child pose and kind of just breathing very gently. I think it's about being gentle with yourself during the program. I think focusing on the healing steps is not about trying to train for the marathon or the triathlon at the same time. I think it's just when you're stressed, it's just not the time to be doing that kind of level.
Adele, that's been fabulous. I think we've all sort of got a great foundation now to start from. So we talked today about being kind to yourself, first of all, the trauma diet and getting the right things into your diet and taking things out that don't need to be there. We talked about sleep and bedtime routines. We talked about nutrition, hydration, I should say, and exercise, and also just supporting your immune system around it. That was about it, wasn't it? But all of those things combined, it's such a great place to start to get yourself into a really good position to start this healing journey. So thank you so much. I look forward to chatting with you again, because this is the first of another 2 videos that come in this mini masterclass. And so thank you for your time today, Adele. I hope everybody got a lot out of that. And we will see you in the next video.
Thank you.
Awesome.